అది ఉంటుంది. హలో, వస్తుందా చూ? ఇట్స్ కమింగ్ ఆర్ నాట్ సీ వన్స్. హలో హలో. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. So we'll be starting in 2 minutes. Just please bear with us. I'm very sorry for the delay. So hello everyone. A warm welcome to one and all. I'm Sairam Reddy.
I am Vedasri Naina and we are associate members of Entrepreneurship Cell IIT Kharagpur.
We extend a very warm welcome to all the attendees at the Hyderabad chapter of the Local Startups Meet, proudly presented by Adda52.com, co-sponsored by Udu, empowered by Google for Developers, and brought to you by The Hindu. Your presence enriches this prestigious event, and we look forward to engaging discussions, fruitful networking, inspiring insights. Let's embark on this entrepreneurial journey together.
Established in 2006 with the support of Science and Technology Entrepreneurs Part, Entrepreneurship Cell IIT Kharagpur has always worked to promote the startup culture across India. To promote the spirit of entrepreneurship, this year we have come up with the 6th edition of Local Startups Meet Hyderabad.
The best preparation for tomorrow is doing your best today. At the Local Startups Meet, we celebrate the audacity of dreamers, the brilliance of ideas, and the power of collaboration. Let the entrepreneurial spirit guide our path to a future shaped by innovation and passion.
We welcome all the dignitaries, startup enthusiasts, and all the representatives of IIT Hyderabad, and along with the growing entrepreneurs present here. Now, I request Mr. Rinkesh Darod, who will be coming in few minutes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So now I request Mr. Rinkesh Darod, Knowledge Manager of IIT Hyderabad, to come up onto the stage. A huge round of applause, please.
Welcome everyone. On behalf of IIITH and IIITKGP, I welcome you here today for this event. Let me just tell you what we do in IIITH and IITKGP and CIE. This, as you might know, or if you don't know, IIITH is a research institute. We are one of the first IIITHs in the country, set up in Hyderabad in around 1998 or something. So this is our 25 years going on here, and we are a leading institute for computer science research. Anything related to computer science, AI, ML, computer vision, and NLP, etc. We are one of the leading centers in India, and applied research is one of our major focus, and this institute is organized around research centers. Unlike your traditional departments, we have research focus, so this is organized around research center. And one of the initiatives which IIIT has been doing for a long time is using this research to feed research-led innovation. So we have something called Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, CIE. It is one of the oldest and largest technology business incubators in India. So if you, I don't know if you saw that, the building opposite here, Vindhya C4 is the CIE building. So it's one of the oldest technology business incubator in India, supported by DST, Department of Science and Technology, METI. And in 2018 also, they started BioNest here, supported by BIRAC. So we are basically any startup doing research using information technology can get incubated here. CIE has like incubators for deep tech, for media tech, for med tech, and other assorted things. You might have heard Marut drones. They are based here. So drone technology, etc. also something we are interested. Over the years, CIE has supported over 400 startups, and over 10,000 entrepreneurs have been part of some event or been touched by CIE, and also around 6 CR was invested by CIE in the startups. In around 30 startups, they have facilitated creation of 2,500 jobs, and the entire portfolio valuation is around 800 CR. So this is for CIE. Now coming back to why I'm talking of CIE, IITKGP is part of CIE, but as a separate institute. We are supported by Atal Innovation Mission Niti Aayog, which is an initiative by the central government to support innovation across India. And there are around 70 plus AICs, Atal Innovation Centers, across India. We are one of them. Each AIC has a specific focus. So IITKGP was created in 2018 with a specific focus on tech-based social entrepreneurs. I am not sure if all of you know or not, so I'll just briefly mention what you mean by social entrepreneurship. Social entrepreneurship is an organization which is for-profit organization, but with a social focus. And I'll give you example to make it more clear in case you don't know. So for example, we have a startup called MyUdan, based in Bombay. What it does, it helps people with disabilities and old people use their mobile phones to first find out whether the place they're going, if they're going for a mall or a cinema or a railway station, is it disabled friendly? And if they want, then book some assistant or wheelchair for that place who can take them and support them. So you see, it's a for-profit business. They charge the person, but they're also making social impact. Our focus tends to be on this kind of startups. And our startups are, so there is one more startup, Sankalp, which is creating a vest to help people with visual impairments navigate surroundings. Similarly, we have a startup, one of the famous startups you might already know is called Fool, which converts flower waste in temples into incense sticks, among other things. So those kind of startups that we support. We also started in 2018, and we have around 10,000 square feet dedicated to social startups in the same building as CI on the top floor. And we have supported 45 plus startups. Our startups have raised 75 plus CR in various rounds, grants and investments. We ourselves have facilitated 2.5 CR grants and also helped create around 300 plus jobs. So this is a broad overview of AIC does. Right now we are running finalizing a cohort on social entrepreneurs in early stage, and in 1 or 2 months we are going to launch a cohort dedicated on climate technology, climate focused startups in partnership with our corporate partner EPAM. So EPAM is one of our corporate partners. We have other corporate partners like HDFC Bank and Pernod Ricard, etc., whom we have worked at various points of time to support startups. So that's the overview of what AIC does. And also, welcome to the event. Over to you.
Sir, please come back on stage. Now, I would like to request to welcome our judges to the stage. First, I would like to request Mr. Anil Kumar Sidhu to come onto the stage. Sir, gifts. Mr. Anil Kumar Sidhu is a prominent angel investor at Inflection Point Ventures, one of the largest angel investment network platforms of India. Mr. Anil Kumar Sidhu is currently the chairman of Carbon Creatives Motion Picture Limited and was previously the director.
Now, I would like to request Mr. Narayana Swarup to come onto the stage. A huge round of applause, please. Mr. Narayana Swarup is an entrepreneur with a successful track of building teams and organization with qualities of dedication, attention to detail, with strong customer focus. Recognized as a strategist and tactician, consistent record of delivering good results in organizational growth and operational performance.
Now I request Mr. Ramana Gogula to come up on the stage. Big round of applause, everyone. Mr. Ramana Gogula currently is the Vice President of Technology Innovation at Stanley Black & Decker. In his current role, he scouts for emerging technologies from innovative startups across the globe that can accelerate corporate innovation vision of the organization. As a venture capitalist, he worked with the VC firms like Unitas Ventures and Anthill Ventures. Mr. Ramana was the managing director for Southeast Asia of Sybase. Interestingly, Mr. Ramana was also a producer of world music from the Bay Area. His album reached the top of the charts on MTV, Channel V, and other major music networks in India. He has also composed music for 25 films. A huge round of applause, everyone.
Now, I would like to invite Mr. Srikanth Manke to come up onto the stage. A huge round of applause, please. Mr. Srikanth is a long-time angel investor with the Succeed Network, having made over 20 investments and multiple exits. His investments span across various domains such as technology, fintech, and manufacturing and more. He is actively involved in evaluating startups for investment potential, mentoring startups.
Now, I would like to request Mr. Abhishek Mauli to come up on the stage. A round of applause, everyone. Mr. Abhishek is an engineering graduate from M&M Jain Engineering College. Post-graduation, he has worked as an asset manager at Credit experience of around 6 years. He has joined Succeed Innovation Ventures LLP in March 2023, close to investment based on fund thesis and growth potential of these startups. Today for the pitching competition, our esteemed judges would be Mr. Ramana Gogula and Mr. Abhishek Mauli. I would kindly request the judges and the selected startup, Celeb AI, to move to the conference room with my colleague Vayashree for the Moving on, I'm honored to introduce our first esteemed speaker, Mr. Rahul Verma. Let's welcome Mr. Rahul to the stage with a big round of applause. Mr. Rahul, the visionary CEO and co-founder of Unschool, with a remarkable track record as a TEDx and a Josh Talk speaker, an esteemed alumnus of Y Combinator, and his pivotal role as a head of operation for AIESEC in India, Rahul Verma is a true luminary in the world of education and entrepreneurship. Unschool, the edtech startup he co-founded, has not only garnered Y Combinator support but also has claimed the prestigious rank of 3 on LinkedIn's 2020 top startup list, a testament to Mr. Rahul's remarkable leadership and innovative vision. Today, we are privileged to gain insights from his transformative journey and deep knowledge in the field of education and startups. Today, he'll be taking a masterclass on the topic Growth versus Scaling for Early Stage Startups. Please give a huge round of applause to Mr. Rahul. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so while we wait for the setup to be done, for the presentation to come up, I just had a few questions so that I understand if my presentation that I had made is going to suit the audience that is there today. So how many of you have already begun your business? You're already founders. Okay. How many of you are aspiring entrepreneurs? Okay. All right. And what stage of the startup you are? All of you are early stage. Have any of you raised funding already? Okay. Funding already. Great. Okay. Awesome. So when we say early stage, how early are you? Like, have you registered your company? Because I was one of those founders without registering my company for the first 4 months, made some money, then started to believe in myself and then registered the company. I mean, I don't want to say it out in public, especially it's being recorded here, but yeah. So what stage are you at currently? If a couple of you could raise your hands and just tell me about yourself. Yes, ma'am, please. Okay. Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. You're bootstrapped. That's something to applaud as well, right? uh, so. Okay. Yeah. Wonderful. Congratulations. So when you say growth stage, you already have paying customers and you're scaling that. Wonderful. Right. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Harini. Nice to meet you. Anyone else? Yeah, please. Okay. So what is the product that you're building again? It's a personal assistant in the form of AI. What is it? Okay. Okay. Ah, okay. Okay. So when you say ideation, like, uh-huh. Okay. But you don't have the prototype yet. It's an idea. Great. Understood. Understood. Thank you. Your name? Kanaya. Kanaya. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Yes. The one behind and then, yeah. Sorry, sir. I didn't get your name. Doctor?
So I have developed or I have designed my own computer programming language, which is better, faster, and more secure than C++. And I have virtually met Vijay P. Bhatkar sir, Dr. Vijay P. Bhatkar sir, who is the first Indian computer scientist to develop the first supercomputer of India. And he gave me 1 hour time, precious time, from his precious time, and I also means he also recognized my project. Even London Journal Press also recognized that, gave a verdict that your project is research is successful and valuable for those computer scientists and researchers who are working on the same domain. So that's my achievement, and I have also authored 3 international books. And one on faulty education system prevailing in India also, which I have launched earlier, means a few days back, and it's it was published by Saraswat Publication. So that's
wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Rakesh. I think we should swap places. Now I have a lot of added extra pressure, because Vedasri told me to create a presentation for early stage founders. It doesn't seem like all of them are early stage founders really. But any which ways, you want to go, sir? Yeah, you raised your hand just in case. Yeah.
I might ease your pressure saying that I'm early stage startup founder. So I founded a company called Nxtwave Labs, not registered yet. Currently I'm at I would say looking for problem statements and looking for ideas. I want to build a robotics company. I'm in the robotics industry from last 7 years. I'm particularly looking in healthcare industry. So that's me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. So what I'm going to talk about today is scaling versus growth, right? I've heard like 3 to 4 of you, and it might not meet the expectations of what you exactly need at this stage of your business, right? But either it'll act as one of these 2 things. One is, what can I do after I start my business, and what should I really focus on, for one set of people. And for the other set of people who are already in the growth phase or have started your business for quite some amount of time right now, it's for you to relook, reminisce whatever you did, and find out if there were mistakes, if they were right thing. So I'll be giving you a lot of pointers today, right? The India-England match is going on right now. I feel good about it because 3 wickets are down already. My biggest worry was they're calling me during a match and they're making me giving a presentation. I wouldn't be sitting here if I was one of you. But for me, that's why I made it in a way that it's a lot of points. I think through the journey of me giving the session itself, you'll be able to relate to a lot of points that you might have done wrong, you might have done right, or there's some misconceptions in your mind already as to when I start, it has to be like this. I have to run it like this. I have to run behind raising funds. I have to keep it bootstrapped. Where do I get money from? So I think just use this as a storytelling period for you for the next like 30 to 45 minutes, and then I'll open it up for questions. Good to go? Yeah. And it would really help me if you could take the front seats instead of sitting in the back, and if you could cover probably these 2 rows instead of, so that I don't have to move my neck too much. Thank you. Appreciate that. So, yeah, let's go to the first slide, Sairam. First slide, the slide before this. Can I get an understanding of what do you define scaling and growth as? What is the difference? Is there any difference? Because the first time this topic was told to me, I'm like, there's not much of a difference actually. They're almost synonyms, right? Growth and scaling. But if I could hear your views on what do you think is the difference between these 2 words in the startup ecosystem? Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. Yeah, it's all the right answer because for me it's a synonym, to be very frank. Anyone else? Yes. Okay. 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 Yes, sir. Right, right. Okay. Okay. Right. Yeah. Sorry. Absolutely. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. Right. Right. Absolutely. Right. Thank you. So, yeah, can we move to the next slide? Okay. Great. So, first of all, before we get to that question of growth versus scaling and what's the difference, just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Rahul. I'm the co-founder and CEO of an edtech startup based out of Hyderabad called Unschool. I am an engineer by chance and not by choice. Until my 8th grade, I was a kid who was very good at sports, academics, like public speaking and all of that. And naturally, the next thing that my dad wanted to do was to become the Sharma Ji ka beta and start preparing for IIT. And the one thing that I regret till date is for 4 years, I studied in a school called Narayana, did math, physics and chemistry for 24 hours of my day and life. And yeah, eventually I got into SRM University. Poor guy, my dad did not realize this. What I realized in 9th grade, that I would never get into IIT. He only realized it after I got the rank in the post. And it was very difficult to recognize if that was really a rank or a phone number, right? So anyway, I'm an engineer by education, an entrepreneur by choice and by passion. Since the time I was young, I always knew I wanted to be in business, knowing nothing about it, having no godfathers, having no mentors, coming from a middle class family. So it has been a difficult journey, but a very rewarding journey. And I think if I have to sum up entrepreneurship in one line, it's going to be extremely challenging, but it's also going to be extremely rewarding, right? That rewarding is different for different people. For some, it's money. For some, it's the experience that you get, and for some, the skills that you garner during your journey, right? And yeah, so in 2020, we started Unschool in 2019. Why I put that up is because it took us about 15 months to be on the LinkedIn top startups list of 2020, and And I vividly remember there were 25 startups to be on that list, including the likes of Unacademy, Cred, Oyo, all of these brilliant startups, right? And we were the only startups to have not raised funds at all. We were completely bootstrapped, and we were the only startup to be less than 15 months old. And that's when we got on, and that was the first validation for us, saying that even we are doing something right in the market, right? Because back then when I started Unschool, I was 24, I think. It's been 4 years since then. And we were also part of Y Combinator. How many of you know what Y Combinator is? I should hope all of you should know about this. Please read about Y Combinator. So Y Combinator is one of the investor accelerator programs in the US. They receive up to 40,000 applications every year. and they select 1%, which is about 300 to 400 startups to be part of their investment cohort, and they invest some amount of money at a certain stake. The likes of Airbnb, Razorpay, Meesho, Dropbox, etc., have come out of YC. So, I mean, not that you should know about Unschool, you should at least know about Y Combinator, and I think that was one of my dreams in college, that I want to be associated with YC some or the other way. My LinkedIn and Instagram handles are there if in case you want to connect with me and discuss with me later any questions you might have. Let's go to the next slide. So this is what I got on Google, right, for growth. The act or process or a manner of growing and gradual increase, right? Very simple, we all know this. Growth is basically growing in a gradual rate until you become a big ecosystem. It's basically generally seen as a definition of a successful company. Like I think Harini was saying that we are at the growth stage, right? Defining a fairly successful company, which refers to increasing revenue directly proportional to the amount of resources you are putting in. I'm allocating human capital, I'm allocating marketing budgets, I'm allocating fund infusion into the startup, and directly proportional to that, the startup is also creating revenue for me. We're not talking about profits and losses here. We're not talking about profitability, but we're talking about growth, which is basically if I invest something into the company, is it giving me something in return? And that return is usually revenue, your overall revenue, right? So that is what growth is. But now let's understand scale. Next slide, please. Yeah, if you see scaling up, if you read this one thing, right? Quantity or property be variable according to a particular scale and climb something high and steep, which means scaling is just a superlative word for growth. It's beyond growth. Scaling is basically what you could do in 1 city, 2 cities. Are you able to do it in 10 cities, 2 countries, 3 countries? And that's what we're going to talk about today. And essentially, if you go to the next slide, if I can have a working clicker, that'd be great, otherwise. Right. So the difference basically is the directly proportional word that I used. Growth is infusion of resources to the outcome in terms of revenue. That is what growth is. But if you talk about scale, is achieved by increasing revenue without incurring significant costs. So let's say I invested 10 lakhs into my marketing budget, and that got me 30 lakhs of sales revenue in return, and that's called growth at the initial stages. But eventually what started happening is, for example, SEO, search engine optimization. It's not something that happens overnight. Your pages are not ranked on Google immediately within a day, within 2 days. It takes up to 6 months, sometimes it takes up to a year. But once the pages start getting ranked on Google, you're most likely to be on the first page if you do it consistently, if you do it well, if you do it with the right team. If you're on the first page, that's not going to get your revenue to 30 lakhs for the 10 lakhs you invested in your SEO team and efforts. It's going to probably give you 3 crores. The amount invested at the growth stage was 10 lakhs. The amount invested at the scaling stage was also 10 lakhs. But at the growth stage, the return was 30 lakhs. At the scaling stage, the return was almost 3 crores. And that's essentially, if I could make you understand the growth and scale, or the way I want to understand it and take forward this session, is in this way. Basically, scaling is increasing your revenue without incurring significant costs, because you've already achieved critical mass, or you achieved a certain number of users who already like your product, and that's just going to have a network effect. One person is going to tell the other, your marketing is going to really work out, and that's going to blow out at one point of time. Yeah. So now let's dig deeper into it as to what I believe for early stage startups. This is not a session I'm giving for growth stage startups or later stage startups. For early stage startup, what should you focus on? Should you focus on growth? Should you focus on scale? Right? That's the question that we'll try to find out over the next few slides. If you have a pen and paper, feel free to keep noting things down in your phone, anywhere, I don't mind. Next slide. Right? And essentially all of this difference comes down to product market fit. How many of you know what product market fit is? If I could have one or two people raise your hands. This is the most important aspect of, for the people who have not spoken, I'll give the chance to sir first. Yes. Okay. But how do you define it's become a fit?
It's
Okay.
yeah, it's the acceptance by the customer.
Okay. Fine. Fair enough. Right answer, but there's more to it, right? Yes, please. You want to go? Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah, that's the important point, right? It should be a desirable product, and not, there's push marketing, there is organic marketing. The moment your product is being sold and generating revenue on an organic level, then essentially you've achieved product market fit, right? One answer I also got was, if you have paying customers, you have product market fit. How many of you believe that is true? How many of you believe that is false? This is like a classroom, right? You don't believe anything. Sir, I'm sleeping inside, I'm just having my eyes open, right? But essentially that's not what it means. Even if you reach about 1,000, 10,000 customers, it does not necessarily mean you have product market fit, right? I'm not talking about the number there. It can be 10,000. 10,000 is a decent number for a B2C company. For a B2B company to have 10,000 clients is like becoming a unicorn, right? And having billions of dollars in probably revenue itself. So product market fit is basically, even if you start by things that don't scale eventually, even if you push the product onto the customers through fear or anything, especially for instance, I'm in the education sector, right? Education is one of the most important vices in India, especially for parents, right? An auto driver would be willing to take 3 lakhs in loan and make sure that the IIT education that his son or daughter needs to have has to be given to him or her, right? Irrespective of what happens. So there's a lot of fear marketing playing in the education sector, right? So it's very easy for us to get 10,000 customers, 5,000, even 1 lakh customers by pushing the product onto the parents, by pushing the product onto the students, saying if you don't get the certificate by the end of the semester, you won't get a certificate, you won't be able to finish your semester because you have certain credits that you have to get, right? So that's essentially not product market fit. So you can be at an early stage, you can be at a growth stage, you must be creating revenue, you must be profitable as well, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have product market fit. But without product market fit, going into the scale, the stage of scaling for a startup is almost impossible. Scaling is necessarily saying that there are 1,000 customers who bought my product and there's 10,000 already waiting there. They just need to know me and I just need to do the right marketing. I just need to make sure that my name is heard out and they will come and buy my product, or at least they will buy my competitor's product. But that's essentially what I'm saying, that my idea has product market fit, right? Now, when there's a product that is run well by the competitor and not run well by me, that means there's something wrong in me as a founder, as a company, that I'm not able to attract that audience to become my customer and pay for my product. But instead they're paying for someone else's product because that product is already defined as a product market fit, right? So essentially that's, I think, the stark difference of what you have to understand, and that's why it's very important. The one thing, if I can suggest for you to chase as an early stage founder, is to chase product market fit. If you're chasing product market fit, you're essentially creating a product which people eventually love. You will start loving your first 100 customers, because as a small company, you have everything it takes to make sure that your first 100 people love your product. The question is, do you want 100 people loving your product, or do you want 10,000 people finding your product mediocre? Right? I mean, 10,000 people are giving you enough money. As early stage founders, we're greedy enough to be like, no, 10,000 is fine even if they find it mediocre. Right? But the chances of getting to that number 10,000 is very, very small if the first 100 people are not loving your product. And that's what we'll be talking about in detail. Nope. Right. So the first point I want to put up here is, like, what do you think is the first step of starting up? This answer can be shouted out loud here in the hall. What do you think is the first step of starting up? When I say that, is it the right team? Is it the right capital infusion? Is it the right idea? Right idea, okay. Any other answers? Wrong. Wrong. When I say first step, I can't say your answer is wrong, right? But there's one, absolutely, right? Identifying the problem statement is the first step, right? So that's what I'm trying to say, that yeah, but you're creating an idea to solve a problem, right? If you don't know your problem enough, there's nothing much you can do about it. And that's something that 90% of the people get wrong. They think it's idea, they think it's a great team, because once you start thinking about the idea, you'll go to 100 blogs, read about it, you'll watch 100 YouTube videos, YouTube shorts, Instagram motivational videos, and then you'll be like, no, he always has a better idea than me, what do I do? I've been at this idea for 1 year now, and the 366th day also someone else has a better idea, right? So ideas are like, sand in the desert, right? You can have 100 of them. If I challenge you saying, tomorrow come back to the same hall and write on a piece of paper about 20 ideas that can become billion-dollar companies, I'm sure most of you will come with ideas. And that's what my problem is when people say that they're not even the prototype phase, they're in the ideation phase. No problem. But then essentially, if you're in the ideation phase for more than 3, 6, 9, 12 months, then that's a problem. Because you're always looking at perfecting your idea, you're not really solving a problem, right? But essentially what I want to make, the statement I want to make through this slide is, there's multiple ideas, there's multiple problems out there to solve, there's multiple people doing it in different ways, ethical ways, unethical ways, organic ways, paid ways. Some come from good backgrounds with a safety net of having money, a safety net of having their parents' company to join if this fails, a safety net of going back to their job which they had for the last 5 years, a safety net of having worked in the US for 10 years, made money in dollars, came back to India to start something here. These are all safety nets. But at the end of the day, no matter what it is, the problem, the idea are secondary, tertiary, but it comes down to startups take off because the founders make them take off. At the end of the day, it comes down to that, right? I can sit here and compare myself to decacons and big companies like Byju's and an academy and everything. But at the end of the day, those founders did something better than me to be in a better place than I am today, to be in a better place than my company is at today, right? So remember this one thing, that it comes down to that, because as you go in your startup journey, there's going to be so many challenges that are going to hit you. Sometimes it's God that you'll blame, my luck is bad. Sometimes it's the market that you'll blame. Sometimes it's a bad customer who's given you a 1-star Google review that you'll blame. Sometimes it's your parents because they don't want to support you, and 99% of the parents anyway won't support you. You already know the truth about this. So what are you complaining about? And we are from India, we're all Indians, right? So we're almost sharing the same story together. But at the end of the day, if there's someone to blame for the success or for the failure of something that has happened, at the end of the day, it's you as a founder. I think I'll start with that. Yeah, next slide. Right. So why I said that is because growth or scale again. Today, if you have to start your car, right, there's electric chargers, which means you just turn your key or you just push a button and the car starts. But back in the day, there was crankshafts, which means you had to turn that crankshaft multiple times. I think even nowadays, some auto people ask you to get down when you're sitting right beside them in a share auto. They ask you to get down, they pull a thread out of it, the engine cranks, and then it starts. This is the example that I want to give you, saying that at the end of the day, no matter what, the founder has to be the salesman, the product developer, the engineer, the person who's developing the website at the end of the day, no matter how bad it is. No matter if it's an auto rickshaw with 3 wheels, 2 wheels, 4 wheels, or a Mercedes Benz, at the end of the day, if you're starting, right, if you're just starting up, you're taking on that journey, it's important for you to do that manual work of starting that crankshaft by yourself. And there's close to 0 chances of the car stopping in between. How many times have you observed that an auto that was started with a crankshaft stopped in between again? Until and unless that guy stays in traffic and for 10 seconds there's no movement, it stops on its own. But otherwise, it is in motion at the same time. And that's what is really, really needed here. So that's what I'm talking about. The first step of entrepreneurship is getting into the system and doing everything by yourself. And that's why I say that making a great team, having a co-founder, while it is a very, very important step, it's not necessarily the only step that you need to take off your business. You need that crankshaft, and you are that crankshaft. You have to go there, dig the dirt, pour your sweat, blood and tears sometimes to make sure you get to where you are. The next slide, please. Right, so now I'm going to go with like 4 to 5 points, and inside each of these points I'll tell you about why necessarily scaling is not important. As an early stage founder, you don't need to think about scaling, and you don't need to do things that can only scale. I think I'm very influenced by what Y Combinator taught me. It said at the early stages, do things that do not scale. It's fine. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. Why? Let's get into it deeper. So when I say recruit users manually, that's a very weird word to use, right? You say acquire users, acquire customers, market it to customers. No one says recruit. So when you're recruiting your co-founder, when you're recruiting your first few people onto the team, what do? You understand what can I provide as a company to this particular potential employee, and what can that potential employee add in terms of experience and work for me, right? The first 100 users, the first 10 users, 50 users, 100 users is all about doing that as a recruitment. It's not just about telling them about a product that is there. Close to 0 will actually believe in your product and buy it. Because most likely they will later go to Google, search for your company's name, see how many 5-star reviews, 4-star reviews, 3-star reviews that you have, or they'll go to your website and search for testimonials of people who already taken your product, right? That's usually the case. That's customers' mentality or how they look at it. And they don't want to take a risk of taking a product from a new company, which is most likely to not work out really well. Because the identification of a new startup is they don't have enough money, they don't have enough employees, and therefore their product will not be up to the mark, right? And that's why I want to use the word recruit your users, because it's about speaking to each and every user again and again and again, and understand the difference between a user and a customer as well. Before that person becomes your customer, he or she is essentially your user, right? And that's why I'm not here talking about customers on this slide at all. We're talking about users. Recruit them, speak to them, interview them, understand what is really going on. I'll give you a simple example. I think it was the founders of the company Stripe, like the equivalent of Razorpay in the US, right? Stripe. Usual people, what they would do is, hey, do you want to use my beta app, beta website, beta product? And that person would be like, cool, I want to use it for sure. I wish you all the luck, right? Please show it to me. And the founder would be like, great, I'll email you the link, check it out, and let me know your feedback. What the founders of Stripe would do was, as soon as they got that yes, saying, yes, I'm interested to check out the beta of your product, they'd be like, can I get your laptop? They would sit down with them, open the laptop in front of them, and actually install their software saying, this is how we do it for you. Right? Use it for 10 days, use it for 20 days, use it for 30 days, and then let me know if you want to become a customer. Right? Aggressive acquisition of users in the beginning is very, very, very important. How many of you are tech founders? How many of you are engineers who sit down and code? Okay, good. That's shyness and laziness is a big no. I think I'm a computer science engineer, but I've always been bad at it, fortunately or unfortunately. But the one thing that I did out there was because I did not have the technical prowess. I would always go out there and speak to the customer. If he has to shout at me for a blunder of beta that I made, I would take it and I would feel happy because he would give me so much feedback in the beginning. And I would just implement that day and night, go back to my tech team, tell them this is not working out. But what a lot of engineers do is they think they are the ones behind the show. They are the ones behind the curtain and doing everything on their, they're building every system on the back end so that the people on the front end, the sales team can take it forward. If I build a beautiful app, people are definitely going to come. So therefore, I'm going to spend 95% of my time building that beta, building that app, building that website, and make it look beautiful and beautiful and beautiful and optimize it each and every day, each and every hour. And therefore, I'm doing my job. That is what you people think, but that's the way I look at it is either you're being shy or you're being lazy and you're being in your comfort zone and developing the app on your own because that's what you're good at. But as a founder, if you're an engineer, if you're a tech person and you are a founder, you are the first salesman of the company. You need to hear the first no, you need to hear the 100th no, and then you get your 101st person to become your user. The 301st person becomes your customer, who's ready to take a penny out of his wallet and actually give it to you. Right? And that's essentially what I would say you should not do, especially, and that's why I'm saying don't do things that can scale necessarily, because if you want to do things that can scale, what you will do is immediately, because you're not an engineer, you're not a tech person, and naturally nowadays everything that is built has a component of tech inside it, either substantially or a minor part of it. The first thing you would do is put in enough resources to get your CTO on board or get a developer on board, and that's the first thing you would be doing. And month on month on month, you already know that building an app, building a website is not half a month, is not 1 month, is not 2 months. It's a long process. You've already started to shell out money for the app. And therefore, before you even know it, in 6 months from now, you're like, okay, the product is not even ready. I've not even released it to the customers. I don't even know if this is going to work, but my bank balance is nil, on the negative already. And that's a huge mistake that you will be doing. So the moment you tell yourself that I'm a tech guy and therefore I'm going to be on the back end, that's the first lie that you're telling yourself, and that's very, very important at the initial stages, right? And the third mistake is ignoring compound growth. I'll give you a simple example. If you start to measure weekly growth, right? Because you're 2 or 3 people, maximum 5-member team when you start a new company, right? It's very easy. Every day you're spending 12 hours, 14 hours, 18 hours, whatever it takes to make sure that your company is ready to go to the market and start making money in the next 3 months. And during those 3 months, all of you are working your bottoms off. So some people don't know what is their objective in the 3 months, what do they want to do. Some people know it. For the people who know it, I would suggest you to start measuring weekly growth. Some of them have monthly milestones, some of them have quarterly milestones, but you can have weekly milestones. In that weekly milestone, let's take an example of you started with 100 users and you said 10% week on week growth is going to be my target. Okay, so do the calculation with me. If you got 100 users in the first week, by second week, how many users have you got? If you met your target, that is 110. And in third week, fourth week, fifth week, great, sixth week, 147. That's already 200 by the sixth week. No? Yeah, 170, right? So, but any which ways, by the end of the year, you're left with 14,000 users. By the end of the 2 years, you're left with 2 million users. So, if you look at 10% growth on a weekly basis, right? So, a lot of people, they tend to shy away from talking to customers on an individual basis, understanding their problems, taking feedback from them, doing sales, because they think a number like 100 is very small. Would a Narayana Murthy sit down and go to each and every customer and speak to them? Would a Mark Zuckerberg do this? Therefore, I won't do it. I think it's a waste of my time. My time is better spent in making sure my team is extremely motivated, in making sure my finances are super tight, in making sure that I'm going to all the investors in the city of Hyderabad, making sure I go to all of these events, making sure I go to T-Hub and anything and everything under the sun, so that I can network and build a great network of people around me, right? You tell yourself these things. I've told myself these things. That's what I did in the first 6 months. If I build a great network today, tomorrow in the 7th month when I go for investment, that investor sitting there in that event will remember me. Because I went to him that day saying, "Hi sir, I'm a great fan of yours. My name is Rahul." And therefore, after 6 months, he's going to remember my name. And when I tell him that in 6 months I've done this, he's definitely going to invest in me. Right? These are all perceptions that we take together. Right? So that's essentially what I don't want you to do. If you look at this compounding scale, it's a lot that you get at the end of the day. And if you make your first 100 customers love you, eventually it's going to be a company culture, right? If the 5 people really are customer obsessed, that means the next 5 people who are going to join, making a 10-member team, would automatically be customer. So consciously or unconsciously, you already know that this is the culture that you've already indebted into the company, and that's the best contribution that you can do as a founder and a CEO. Your contribution is not how many suits you've bought to make sure how many events and speaking sessions you've attended. Right? Can I have the next slide, please? How much time do I have left? Done? Okay. Sure. The second one is always remember startups are fragile. What do I mean to say by that? I think there's a lot of people out there. You speak to investors, you speak to speakers like me, you speak to the so-called experts in the market. They will all tell you that your systems of how you lead your team, how you send an email to your customer, how do you use WhatsApp marketing, anything and everything is wrong. Why? Because Freshworks does it that way, Amazon company does it that way, Microsoft does it that way, right? And I think that is the first challenge that you'll be going through. In the first 6 months as a founder, you already have a lot of judgment as it is, Why don't you take up a job? Why are you taking up this risk of starting a company of your own and all of that? You already have a lot of judgment as it is, and the moment you go forward, you ask a lot of people suggestions, like me. And people like me, because they think they know everything, will tell you, no, this is not how you do it, man. If you want to lead your team, start using a tool called Asana, sign up on Atlassian, just pay them 5,000 rupees per month, take a subscription for a year, and your team will be crazy, man. Every week they're going to give you reports. You don't even have to have a call with them. They just have to update that they've done this today, and you can say if they've done a good job or not, and your appraisal can be very good. But the point is, as a founder, you got to speak to your employees. But a person like me, who is a so-called expert speaker, right, expert entrepreneur, is going to tell you, I do this with 100 people in my company. That works for me. But that's not made for an early stage founder. As an early stage founder, I made sure I heated donuts in the microwave oven when someone hit their targets, feed it, gave it to them, if required, fed it into their mouth as well, asked them how it is, change the flavor of it if they didn't like it. So I think don't judge the processes that you use in your startup and compare it to the ones that are already established companies, no matter what anyone tells you, because there's going to be a lot of people telling you that. And the initial fragility is what makes you unique. I think I've heard this story about Airbnb. What Airbnb did is, obviously, imagine getting an idea back in the 90s or early 2000s saying that in my home, I would make it a hotel for someone to come and stay with me. Homestay. Today we do it on a daily basis. But imagine getting this idea 20 years, 15 years back, saying, I would go and stay with someone else in their home. If that guy is a creep, if that guy is a murderer, if that guy is something else, I don't know at all. So for that, it's a crazy idea. It's a weird idea. And no one would invest in them, no one would believe in them. But the first thing they did is immediately took the photos of the homestays by themselves, make sure to upload it on the app, took the video interview of the person who is hosting the homestay and put that onto the app. So people started looking at the faces of the owners of the homestay. People started looking at the rooms pictures. This fellow founder, the first investment they was purchasing a DSLR camera, and that was the initial investment, and they went to each and every city and they would actually take the pictures of the homestay and then put it up. So this meant right. You're doing what Airbnb did, you're saying? Wonderful. That's good. And that's what I'm saying. People will tell you you're doing that wrong, but I think that's what makes you unique in the future, is because no one knows it better than you. And when you have 100 employees, because that's what scaling up is, right? You think as 5 people, you've generated 1 lakh in revenue in a month. That means if I have 50 people, I will generate 10 lakhs, directly proportional. But the remaining 45 people who are going to join you on a later basis are probably not as talented as you, are probably not as connected as you to the vision, or do not know the DNA of the company as you do. So most likely, it won't be directly proportional. Your first 5 employees, the work that they do will not be the same as the employees that will come later on, most likely. So you can't just say that, okay, I have 5 employees, so let's get first pay 6 months advance to that office so that I can take a 30-seater office, do a puja and start. Right? Yeah, next slide. And make users very, very happy. That's what we focused on with Unschool. Now we have a lot of problems. We have a lot of 1-star Google reviews as well. I admit it, right? But in the beginning, it was about getting that first 100 users, and we would, almost hold the collar of that student, because the only difference is in Coursera, Udemy, you would get courses, brilliant courses. On Unschool, you would get the course and also get placed in an internship. Our responsibility was to get the student placed. We would almost go knock on the door of the student saying, why aren't you studying? Why aren't you applying for that internship? That fellow said 2,000 rupees stipend, sir. That's why I didn't take it. I'm like, 2,000 is less for you. You're 18 years old. I sit down with him, counsel him, and make him understand why 2,000 rupees a month at the age of 18 or 19 when you're in college is good enough. Going on to convince someone that a free stipend wala internship is also good enough. We didn't stop. We said 100 out of 100 people will get placed. And that's what like went on to be word of mouth marketing for us. When 3 people in a classroom got placed, 60 people in a classroom would be interested saying, Are semester aipotundra, నేను కూడా తీసుకోవాలి, ఇంటర్న్షిప్ చేయాలి, సర్టిఫికెట్స్ సబ్మిట్ చేయాలి కాలేజ్లో, నాకు కూడా ఇరవై అదేదో, ఎందుకంటే నాకు రాదు ఇంటర్న్షిప్, అది 3,000 కట్టి కోర్స్ తీసుకుంటా, ఇంటర్న్షిప్ అలా వచ్చినా గ్రేట్, రైట్? సో దట్స్ వాట్ వీ డిడ్. సో make users very, very happy. One, that's going to be your culture. And the other thing, the engineer or tech founders, I want to, repeat that again. Engineers think they don't have to, their app will make, their code will make the customers happy, right? No. But please go out there as founders and talk to your customers, find out about the feedback and what's going on. Because engineers back then, they had only one role, which is about writing code and making it as optimized as possible. But today, engineers have a new definition of what that is. I don't want to get into the details. As tech founders, you probably already know about it, right? So don't shy away from doing this. By the time your big customer obsession is permeated in the core culture of your company, that's going to be written at the beginning of your company, at the reception, saying customers are king, or whatever you want to write there. That's going to be the first decal that you're going to stick in your office, because you believe in it so much, and therefore the people who have joined you later also make it their DNA. And these people are going to stay with you for a long period of time. Next slide. Yeah, next slide. So this is usually the state that all of us are in. If you recognize this meme, can you click on that, Sairam? There's fire around you, but then this is fine, right? That's usually the state of founders in the first, I mean, throughout the journey, even today, as I'm giving this speech, that's the state that I am in. But essentially, fourth point I want to talk about is being extremely smart, right? You read so many books, you hear so many stories, expert sessions and all of that, and you kind of make a SOP, standard operating procedure for yourself. But no, please, choose the road not taken and do things your own way. There's no playbook to how to become a billionaire. There's no playbook to how to become a millionaire. What works for you is what works for you at the end of the day. Facebook did this, right? Which means deliberately, unconsciously or consciously, they focused on a very small market, which means they started in Harvard University and said, I'm going to create classes and books and host it on this platform, and one person can connect with each other and therefore create a virtual campus ecosystem. What started with Harvard, then Stanford came and said, I wanted this. MIT came and said, I wanted this. So a lot of colleges by themselves started wanting that. And I think Mark Zuckerberg very proudly says is that it's good that I did not release this for a city. I did not start Facebook with a city in mind, or with a country in mind, or with the world in mind. It's good that I started this with a college in mind. I had no idea of scaling it. I was bored and I did this in my dorm room, and that's all I wanted it to be. But then eventually he realized that the product was so good that everyone wanted it. And that's why, again, I'm repeating it. It's not necessarily for you to do things that scale. Do things that do not scale. 100 people will ask you, okay, you're doing this today. Tomorrow, can you do this when you have 100 clients? They're going to ask you those things, but you're going to figure out a way, and that's what the growth phase is, and that's what the scale phase is. By the time you get to the scale phase, you already have the funds to get the right people to do it. You're already going to have the experience. A lot of things you would have figured out by then. But the moment you start telling yourself in the first 6 months itself, I have to do things that can be replicated 1 year later, then you're stopping yourself from doing a lot of things that really work out for you today. So in the process, what you're doing is, in the first 3 months, you're not doing anything because they don't scale. And then 1 year later, you don't need it only because you're not scaling at any point of time. Instead, do that in the first 3 months, and then figure out after 1 year, how do you scale this? For 100 clients, for 1,000 clients, for X number of customers, for X number of team members. Next slide. A lot of people also think this, that I'll launch this big, I'll get incubated. These are very good things. I mean, I am one of those people who were incubated, right? NSRCL. I started my journey from an incubation center. But they always think this, that if I have a platform, if I have a big launch event, that's going to eventually bring customers to me, and that's going to become a big hit. But that's not at all the story for 90% of the startups, 90% of the ideas out there. So remove that out of your head. Basically, anyone who wants to launch big, they're either lazy, right? When I say that, they believe that they don't want to go to do the hard work of knocking on doors, calling customers, getting rejections. What they want is a bunch of people who believe in their idea, who's come for free snacks or free drinks or whatever it is to your big launch event. And they already like you, man, which is exactly the opposite of product market fit, which means you have sent out flyers for a big event that you're doing. You have free cocktails, you have free snacks and everything, and they're going to come down. The only people that are going to come down is the people who are already interested in the kind of product that you're building. And that doesn't necessarily translate into the larger audience at all. So that means you're being lazy. You're not calling 100 customers and getting rejected by 90 to 95 people to only get 5 or 6 maybes. If you're not going through that experience, you're not essentially able to identify your audience, and you're not able to gauge if your idea is good or bad, if your product is actually needed by the market or not. It's like telling a bunch of cricket fanatics to come and attend your launch event about cricket. What about the football fanatics? What about the people who don't watch cricket? But you're looking at the cricket fanatics who came to your event and being like, wow, my product is going to be a unicorn in less than 6 months from now, right? So you shouldn't get into that ideology ever. Next. So I think, can we go back? You know the difference between scalar and vector, right? We studied this in physics. Scalar is basically one-dimensional, and vector is basically using magnitude and direction as well. So basically you can read it there. Scalar is a quantity that has magnitude only, but no direction. A vector is a quantity that has both directions as well as magnitude. So what I mean to say by that, and why I use this slide, is essentially the entrepreneurship journey is not going to be like on the left hand side of that pic, which is going to be a straight line, nice road without potholes, without bumpers. That's what you expect it to be. And that's why when you do things for scale, you think that be it at 3 employees, 30 employees, 100 employees, at 5 customers, 500 customers, my journey is going to be the same. No, things are so dynamic that they keep changing every 10 days, every week, every day, right? So therefore, I think you have to build yourself to a mechanism where you don't do things that scale in the beginning. It's okay. But eventually become dynamic enough to learn to do it while you're scaling as well. After getting from 5 customers, how to get to 50 customers, you're going to figure that out. But if you're not going to get to the first 5 to 10 within the milestone of 3 months, 2 months that you have, you most likely will end up in 6 months where you do not have funds, or we do not have the motivation to even continue with chasing this idea, right? And that's a huge risk that I don't think you should take. Yeah. Next slide. Sorry, I'm just rushing about. I mean, that's a grim thing. I think India's percentage looks like this. Startups fail. 80% of the startups fail by the time they get to 5 years, right? There's only 20% of the startups which cross that 5 years stage, which is usually your Series C, Series D, or going public, or necessarily what that is. Next slide. Right? But I think in my experience, it's not the same for every company. It differs from company to company, idea to idea, the nature of the business. But it takes you about 2 years to reach that scale phase. Right? So why are you worrying already in the beginning when you're an early stage founder about should I scale, should I raise funds, should I do this in bootstrap? I think we have a panel discussion around bootstrapping and fundraising, so I won't get too much into it. But essentially nothing else is important. Identifying your problem enough, speaking to your customers, always making that feedback loop come through by speaking to your customers constantly. Those are the two important things that you need, nothing else, right? As startup founders, you don't need to do things that can scale. You don't need to get a fancy office. You don't need to hire your first 10 people immediately. Hell, you do not probably even need your tech team in the beginning, even if yours is a tech startup. It doesn't matter. All that matters is, do you understand the problem like no one else does? Second, are you willing to take 99 rejections to get that one yes? Are you willing to get to your first 0 to 1, which is basically 0 to 100 customers, and give all of the 100 customers a 6-star experience, not a 5-star experience, but a 6-star experience? If you have done that with 100 people, it's most likely that you can replicate it with more zeros at the end of the 100, right? That's about it. Next slide, please. I think coming to the end. I think you can just read this. When I was in YC, this was told to me again and again. Yeah, that's a better way. You take a picture and then read it later. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. I can't do a better job than what is already written there. Can I move on? Yeah, next slide please. Yeah, so do things that don't scale, in brackets, star mark also. I'm not saying everything that you do in the beginning has to be things that don't scale, but also do things that do not scale. And do not go by what anyone else around you is going to say. There's going to be a lot of judgmental beings around you at this point of time. Starting with yourself, you're going to be your harshest judge, right? So I don't think you should just keep doing what you do well. Even if it's giving you results, it's giving you results, right? It's not what Jeff Bezos had done or Mark Zuckerberg had done, but it's working out for you, so it's working out for you, right? Next slide. Yeah, so I think this would be how I would get to starting up, how I've done it in my journey. Started off at the very early stages, gave a lot of attention to my customers, did a lot of things by myself. Before hiring a lot of people, focused on taking feedback and creating a feedback loop that would make my product actually become a product market fit. And then I got to the growth stage. Then eventually I'm in the scaling up stage right now, and then succeed at whatever exit option that you would want to have. If that's billions of dollars, it's at impact with billions of Indians, that's up to you. But that's how I would define it. Next slide. Yeah, done. All right. We're done.
So yeah, that was a great session. Thank you very much, sir. And I think that was pretty interactive. And even though we would like to have 3 questions, anyone? Okay. I would appreciate questions from guest speakers as well.
I ate into a lot of time, so they're only giving us 3 questions. Yes.
In your initial slides, you said that, you said something about product market fit, and you said that if the product market fit is there, even if your product is not selling, your competitor is selling, you should not get disheartened. But if your product is not selling and your competitor is selling, is your product in a good product market?
No, sir.
Fit?
I think you misunderstood it a little bit.
Please.
If you have product market fit, that means that people are already buying your product and paying for it, right? But what I said is, even if you have 1,000 customers, let's say you're a B2C company like mine, I provide online courses to college going students. I did not achieve product market fit by the time I got to the first 5,000 customers, which means I was using all aggressive methods of marketing to ensure that I played upon the fear of the students, to ensure that they have a certificate and an internship to have a good career eventually, to get a good job eventually, which means I was one part of their college journey for making sure they were in a better career, right? Which means that through me, they're going to get a great internship, they're going to get placed in a good job eventually. So what I mean to say is, even though I got 5,000 customers, I was a successful quote-unquote startup, I did not achieve product market fit. Which means if I do not do my aggressive ways of marketing, if I do not place my ambassadors and sales teams on calls, it's not likely that a person would come to my website and purchase it on their own and leave. Like I would go to a Swiggy, order butter chicken and leave. That's product market fit, right? That's what I meant to say. Not all companies that have customers have product market fit.
Okay, so I have a question. You said like we should always find the problem statement and then start.
Yeah.
But what about like if you have a vision that you want things to change in certain way, will that be sufficient to start with and then later on find the problem and all, or like should we first of all find a problem and then?
Yeah, I mean, see, I'll give you a high-level example of this. At the end of the day, when you build a product, you would need money, right? Either your company is making profits. For making profits, you need enough paying customers. If you do not have enough paying customers, which means you've not studied the problem enough, that not many people are facing that problem. That means you won't have customers, correct? If you don't have customers, you will need investors. If you need investors, the first question that the investor is going to ask you is, what is your total addressable market? For example, Unschool, the number of youth in the country is about 600 million by the year 2025. And about 25% of them, which is about 100 to 150 million, is sort of my addressable market. So if 150 million pay me 2,000 rupees per course, all the 150 million in the country, that makes it a 3 billion market for me. So that is why the investor is like, wow, $3 billion may say, even if these people can take 1% of that market, they're going to make enough money to make sure the money I invested in them, I get returns on it. Correct? So that is why you need to understand your problem. If your problem is not big enough, then why are you creating a product to solve that problem? So you don't want to create a product and then be like, yeah, more people should get this problem.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for such a insightful session. Rahul, I have 3 parts of my question because this is the last question, I suppose. So as you were talking about the product market fit, don't you think product market fit is dynamic? So right now I build a product which I achieve the product market fit. 1 year down the line, I'm still selling the same product, but I see that so many competitors have popped up with the same kind of product market fit.
Right.
So how to handle that, number 1. Number 2 is I am building a super app for event industry, for users as well as for vendors.
Okay.
So now I have got more than 5,000 vendors on my panel. 20% of them have paid, and 80% of them are using the app for free. How do I, it's definitely it's a product market fit because I'm getting the bids and it's running.
Okay.
How do I make them pay for the features that they're using?
Okay.
The third part of my question is, you said that also do things that don't scale, right? So I work everything invested, and I validate a concept, build a business which is visible in the market, and if I don't scale faster, don't you think I have the threat of being copied and scaled up by somebody who has got muscle?
Right. Yeah. So answer your first question. See, there's no definition. You go anywhere on Google, you ask the best founders, unicorn founders out there. Product market fit is not something that can be defined on paper. It's a feeling. You are very confidently saying, I do have product market fit. There must be a reason for having said that. Because I can tell you, the first 5,000 customers, I was making revenue, people were buying my courses, I was bootstrapped, I was doing very well. I was profitable from day 0, not even day 10 or 1. But I knew that if I reduce my sales team size to, let's say, 30 people to 3 people, would people come onto my website without the human intervention of a call? Would they buy it? They wouldn't, right? So if you have a product market fit for what is there today, 2 years later, it's not about others having a product market fit, which means that, let's say, my courses, online courses, were very relevant during COVID. 2020, 2021 were one of the best years for Unschool. 2023, I'm doing lesser revenue than what I had done in 2021, right? But that doesn't mean I do not have product market fit, which means that my product market fit was defined and established in 2021. The way I'm taking it out into the market and showcasing it to the customer is not probably as great as what it was, right? Which means that as the market conditions change, the realities change, the way I did business, the way I did my marketing has not changed, right? So which means that if there is a need for online courses at that point of time, take a Paytm soundbox for example. A vendor never imagined that he would have a soundbox that says, you've been given 6 rupees for this customer having chai. But tomorrow, if his soundbox is not working, he's going to make 100 calls to Paytm saying, Bhai, jaldi aaja, my soundbox is not working and I don't know what is happening. So that means that he had product market fit yesterday. And that is just about how you are going to be dynamic in terms of still making that a reality for your customers as well. That's one thing. Second, I think that's a very big discussion that we can have offline as to how you can get your users to become your customers. And third question, sorry, I forgot that.
Yeah, scaling up.
Yeah, okay.
If you establish or if you prove your concept, business concept, and still playing low, don't you think your idea is has a threat to get copied?
There's always a bigger fish, right? Don't you think there was 1 year back a person with a muzzle who couldn't take over your idea and do it better than you?
They didn't do it. That's why I have.
Couldn't they do it 5 years back?
They can. They could have done it.
Can they do it tomorrow?
Of course they can.
So that's what I'm saying. That they can do it whenever and however, and that comes down to how you're investing the right amount into your business to make sure that. And it's also a choice, right? Not everyone who starts a business wants to become a unicorn.
Yeah, true.
Not everyone who wants to be there wants to earn a lot of money. Scaling up comes with its own problems. So I think more than answering your question, I'll say this, that it's very important for you to sit down and understand, should I take on more problems and scale up the business? Because more problems are likely to come. Or am I happy with the way the business is running currently? And can I have a metric of a 5% month-on-month growth, 10% month-on-month growth, and is that enough for me? Instead of talking about scale, which is almost 30%, 50% month-on-month, do I want to go there, or do I want to stay happy with my 5% and 10% and don't forget the compounding?
Yeah, got
right?
it.
Even if you're still growing at 5% today, in 2 years you'll be in a place that you want it to be, and much safer as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to me very patiently.
It was a great pleasure to have such insightful answers from you, sir. Thank you very much. And now I'd like to invite Mr. Anupam Pedrala onto the stage to present token of gratitude to Mr. Rahul Verma. Round of applause, everybody. Yeah, Mr. Rahul will be joining us for the panel discussion later. And Now I'd like to introduce Mr. Anupam Pedrala for our next session, which is the Fireside chat. So please come up onto the stage, sir. Round of applause, everybody. So let me introduce Mr. Anupam Pedrala to you. Today we have Mr. Anupam Pedrala, the co-founder and chief operating officer of Nxtwave, an alumnus of IIT Kharagpur. Anupam has an extraordinary acumen for building new age businesses and a contagious entrepreneurial spirit. He has a stunning track record of heading the business teams at Nxtwave and achieving explosive growth. Under his leadership, Nxtwave has arguably become the fastest growing edtech in India. Today, Nxtwave has students from 27 states and 450 plus districts across the country. Nxtwave is the India's largest Series A fund in edtech. All of this while the industry was going through a funding winter. And guess what? Nxtwave has been cash flow positive from day one. And apart from being a CEO who means business, Anupam is a wonderful human being who lights up the room with his wit and humor. And he's a cricket and movie buff when he's not building Nxtwave. And I would like to call upon the stage Mr. Sunil Patil, who will be moderating the session. A huge round of applause for Mr. Sunil.
Thank you, Anupam, for being here. And I think we all seen the kind of effort being put in by the students of IIT Kharagpur. And we hope today's interaction with Anupam would be very fruitful for all the people sitting here and also all the people watching a live telecast on mystartuptv.com and other students. Anupam, your journey has been interesting. And I know there are some videos I saw of yours, but it's complete social media blank of yours. We'll be asking about that. Tell us, how did your entrepreneurial journey start, and which was the year you decided that you want to set up and become an entrepreneur, and you want to become an entrepreneur in the edtech sector?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief, right? We can keep it open for them, right? So, to talk briefly about ourselves, for us, three of us, Nxtwave is co-founded by three of us, myself, Rahul, who is incidentally alumnus of IIIT Hyderabad, and then Sashank. So three of us used to work together in an incubator based out of Hyderabad previously, right? So during that time, three of us were actively hiring for different roles at the previous company that we were working for. So one thing that was really, surprising, shocking, and whatnot was we felt and found the students are really capable and have the potential. But the question, are they carrying enough skills to come and contribute to the workspace immediately after graduation, was a question to us. So that felt us really surprised, because back then the teams with which we were working were incidentally to be from tier 1 institutes, call them IITs and IITs, IIITs, BITS, etc. Right? So I won't say at IIT Kharagpur the education was really fabulous, or I learned everything from my professors or so, but the ecosystem had played a key role, right? I mean, because we have so clubs like this Entrepreneurship Cell, or beautiful clubs, etc., where we learn from the ecosystem.
And you're also the general secretary of
so you have beautiful ecosystem over there which helps you to come out with flying colors, right? So, but then if you look at tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 colleges, is it the ecosystem same, or are they coming up with enough skills which can help them get a job right after their graduation, was a question. So that made us really think that this is something that is really big. The students by the age of 21, students are roughly, at least these days, spending at least 20 to 30 lakhs by then, right? I mean, by the time if they're graduating, if they're not having enough skills which can help them to get a job at least, then it's a serious question on what we are as an ecosystem providing them, right? So that's the starting point of our entrepreneurial journey. So three of us, Rahul, I and Sashank, were equally excited when we started this, and it's been 3 years, fabulous journey ever since then.
Yeah, your platform, you have, after recent funding round 8 months back, you call yourself, or you aim to achieve, to become India's largest employability platform. So tell us about this kind of ambition and what makes you confident that in the next 1 year, is it the target? Your company is going to reach the target or probably become this largest employability platform of the country.
So probably, thanks Rahul, in his prior interaction, he took a broad demography of the audience here, right? So
this 500 million, 600 million students?
Yeah, I mean, it is. So more than before I talk about that, so I'm assuming everyone in this room is, engineer or at least completed their, or pursuing their undergraduation. Is my assumption right? Yeah, I mean, that must be the case, right? So if you look at our whole, education journey as such, right? So what are we really putting our all efforts for, right? So at the end, yeah, I mean, handful of us must be really interested in the research that we'll be carrying out after, studies, or some of us might be really interested in entrepreneurship, like Rahul. Since his childhood, he was really interested in business. But significant portion of our Indian student segment are really, we are doing what we are doing for the sake of job, right? I mean, to get a good job at the end of the day. So now, I mean, if you take the whole education sector as such, at the age of 21 or 22, would I really remember what my marks were in mathematics in the 7th grade in my 3rd unit test? Or would I really, care about, do I have enough skills that are required for me to get a good job, right? So, I mean, by employability, we mean we plan to stick to get outcomes for what we are doing, right? I mean, by outcomes, we mean the job is the outcome. So we are working on a thin line of fire where we are making students say that, you do this is what companies are looking for right now. So we are actively in touch with 3,000 companies or 4,000 companies or so. This is what they're looking for right now. This is the gap that is present in academia industry, a gap. So this is what let's plug in. And this is what, you need to study so that clear this and you'll be in a position where you will get a job at least, right? So by employability university, we mean that. So now what makes us confident is, this is an interesting bit which I want to clear the air for a lot of the people. So right now our biggest problem in our journey is not to make students get the job. I mean, I'll factually speak this. Right now the number of opportunities that companies are looking to offer to the students are far higher than the number of students who are studying on our platform. That's the irony right now today, right? I mean, there must be assumptions that, 9 months back from here, we all heard the stories of mass layoffs in Google, Accenture, Amazon, Microsoft, everything, everywhere page number 1 is filled with such kind of stories. But the brutal, reality is, I can't take absolute numbers, but I'll take in percentages. If we are getting 100 offers from companies saying that, I want to hire for 100 roles, we were able to provide only 20 students as on today. So that's what our confidence is, that, we can become largest employability university because companies are in dire need of the talent that they want to hire for and they want to solve the problems for. And they're ready to shell out huge, go above and beyond as well. I'll just give an example. So I'm assuming everyone in this room knows about Bharat Pay, right? I mean, Bharat Pay. So exactly 15 months back, there was an incident where Bharat Pay was offering, every software developers whom they hire, a BMW bike, World Cup tickets to Dubai. Back then, 2021 World Cup was happening in Dubai. So tickets to and fro tickets to Dubai, and an iPad. So why are they offering? Because there is such shortage of talent. In order to attract talent, really talented, skillful people, they had to go above and beyond to do that. So these are kind of cases which makes us feel that, there is, even today, this happened to me last month, right? So one of my alums of IIT Kharagpur, who was like, decade senior to me, came to me saying that he has company in Dubai, IT-based company. So he wants to hire 24 developers. So he came to me and said that, I want to hire. But I told him, sorry, right now we have to keep on wait list because the opportunities are so many high that I can't provide enough number of students who are graduating out to you. Then he requested me, why don't you put me on wait list number 1 because we share the same, alma mater. So that was the kind of situation we are in right now as a society. That's what makes us believe that, we can...
That's nepotism. Yeah, continue.
Not nepotism, but familiarity, whatever you call. That's how the society evolves, right? Yeah. So that's what makes us, believe that there is very huge void in this space that needs to be filled, and collectively it's responsibility of not just, us, but bunch of players. There is a requirement for us all together collectively to help Indian youth coming out from the colleges to make them employable, right? I mean, second order effect, what we see is if we don't make them really, skillful to become employable, right? So all the chaos in society starts from there, because age of 20 to 23 is where you have like that, energetic blood. So they're really, agitated with society or education system, and that leads to all the disturbing elements in the society as well. So this is the second order effect that we are really worried about, not just, the straight line that we're looking at.
Admirable. But the premise of Indian youth, especially engineers, not being really up to the mark in terms of what the corporates want or what the market really wants, is a well-known factor. It's a well-known factor. Where does Nxtwave, your company, without a E, where does Nxtwave make that kind of shift from the kind of trainings we have across the world? We have Amir Pet here, right next door. So is Nxtwave trying to create a kind of a larger scope Amir Pet in Anakramgoda? Is that what you're attempting? How?
Okay, how many in this room have tried to apply for, JEE or IIT or any other competitive exam? At least, tried thinking of attempting. Okay, I can see, half a dozen hands, right? So I come from that background, I come from that factory where, we were put as students, came out as, those kind of, with IIT ranks, right? So I'll ask in this way, right? I mean, if we are in such kind of, IIT preparatory course, and say, for example, this year MHRD announces that IIT syllabus is changing. So would the Chaitanya, Narayana, Akash, Fiji, Bansal, etc., whatnot of the world, would they change their syllabus or not immediately, the next day, right? So that's a no-brainer.
They would change, yes.
So now, when was the last time the curriculum was changed in tier 3, tier 4 colleges? Because, even administrators want to do that, right? I mean, no college wants to say that, I don't want to give placement, but they have their own practical constraints. So we have beautiful colleges, Andhra, Telangana together are owning like around 800 colleges, right? So whenever we talk to administration in the college as well, they are like equally excited to bring some change in the society. But when was the last time curriculum was changed, right? So probably decade or decade and a half back. So, okay, decade back, do we have all this digital first transaction? No. So do we have all this digital first, whatever we're doing now? No. So industry is evolving at a rapid pace. So now whatever the student has to learn, is that aligned with what industry is really required, right? I mean, so that's what now we call it as, the focus is always on reverse engineered curriculum. When we mean reverse engineered curriculum, look at what companies really want. So, I mean, last 8 months, there has been huge buzz on what? GPT, right? I mean, everyone, no matter whether they are tech savvy or not.
GPT, AI, automation.
GPT, AI, etc. So, we are really worried whether the skills that we are teaching to the students will be really, valid or not. Then we hit on the ground. Personally, three of us, like all 3 co-founders of us, like went, hit on ground and spoken to MNC CEOs and the talent acquisition heads, engineering managers, etc. What their hiring requirement is going to change. There are certain notes and inputs that we got, and we were able to change it within the short span of time.
So was this interaction with the recruiters in constant level interaction? Does it continue so that you keep on getting
feedback? So it's not an event based; it's a continuous. So we have a it's like it's not like once in 6 months or once in 3 months. It's on daily basis. So you have companies coming in to hire your students. You understand what their requirement is, what they're trying to or expecting from the students. Is the curriculum aligned for that or not? And keep on iteratively changing it. So it's not event based like we do it once in a year, once in 6 months. It's continuously iteratively feedback mechanism that is kicking in.
So Anupam, I have in Nxtwave's basic idea of getting students to come to a platform is that you have a large number of testimonials coming from students. Very few of their online presence actually has either Anupam or any of the 2 co-founders speaking. Is this method of getting in students to come to a platform a very studied method, because there's absolutely huge number of testimonials on your platform?
So, I mean, I see when Rahul was interacting earlier.
Probably explain the kind of testimonials.
Yes, I'll come to that. See, I mean, what we strongly believed in is India is a place where probably, having a brand ambassador like Kohli or Salman Kaur or Hrithik Roshan, more than that, what my neighbor or benchmate is saying is much more important to me than what Virat Kohli and Salman Khan are saying to me, right? So say, for example, all of us are sitting in a classroom, right? So, I mean, for time being, let's forget all our, age difference, etc., and assume we are all sitting in the same classroom. I'll take the example of what happened in our case, and I definitely believe this is going to be helpful for every entrepreneur, budding entrepreneur sitting in this room. Say, for example, we are all sitting in the same engineering classroom, and all of us are like, happy, chill buddies, where we go to first day, first show on Friday, bunk the classes, mass bunk, plan, holiday trips, etc., everything, right? And all of us are like, really close buddies. Say, for example, tomorrow, all of a sudden, Sunil comes to me and shows me his mobile and says that, hey dude, like I built exact clone of Swiggy, which looks like exactly Swiggy, but built by me, or exactly clone of YouTube, which is completely built by me. So what will be the reaction of this complete room that is here? I would say nothing less than wow, right? Because all of us are sitting in this classroom, all of us, are like chilling, just one night batting before exams. That's typically what we do in undergraduation days, right? Tomorrow Sunil comes and shows me that he has built an YouTube clone, which has like absolutely, you can't even differentiate between whether it's YouTube or Sunil's YouTube, right? So then obviously next question from all of us is, dude, you're like all of us sitting in the same classroom, sitting on the same bench, listening to the same class, bunking the classes, chilling, enjoying, everything is same, but how come all of a sudden you build that? Your answer will be obviously Nxtwave, if you're a student of Nxtwave, right? So then the kind of impact that it creates in the whole room is something that we can't even achieve by spending $1 million by having a brand ambassador like Virat Kohli or whatnot, like RRR, Stardom or etc. We can't get that kind of impact where everyone is like, wow, I want to get into that, right? So I mean, Cred founder Kunal Shah explained this very well. So India is a place where it's a low trust economy. By low trust economy, we don't trust people very easily. We trust only when someone we know very well endorses it. Right.
So how did you manage to come across this huge number of testimonials on your platform? And always it happens that the people who are speaking, the students who are speaking, the undergraduates who are speaking, they may not be necessarily so voluble or so articulate in terms of expressing the kind of advantages which your platform is giving them. So how do you recalibrate the kind of responses you're getting before you put it on the platform?
Again, this is just continuation of my previous answer, right? So, I mean, just imagine a student for 21 years or after spending 10, 15, 20 lakhs or whatever throughout his education, etc. is coding for the first time and looking at an output for the first time. So we've seen the students where we hear their happy, look at their happy tears immediately after getting the job, right? Because, I mean, just imagine situation of a 20 to 23-year-old guy who graduated, who's not having job. Can he attend family functions peacefully? Definitely no, right? I mean, everyone will be like, what are you up to? What are you doing these days, right? So, though they know the answer, they want to poke at you. Unfortunate, I mean, that's the irony, right? Can they really face their parents happily? No, because they have that guilt that my mom and dad has spent, so much on me that I'm not having this. So now, in such a situation, there is some savior who's coming to you and helping you right from, learn from scratch and teaching you in your own mother tongue, right? I mean, again, tier 3, when we say that we are helping tier 3, tier 4 students, we can't keep our pedagogy and learning in English. So when it's going in vernacular, teaching them in Telugu and they're getting a job, so something that's like, you can't even, so that's what keeps us pumped. I mean, this is going to be common for every industry. The moment you help your customer, the kind of, if you're solving the problem, the kind of happiness they are going to have is, that can't be quantified. So now all it needs is just, capture the raw emotions, which unfiltered, candid emotions, which makes the viewer understand that, they can correlate, right? I mean, again, when I say that testimonials play an important role. I mean, that's in fact like
was it a model which you saw elsewhere before you implemented it for customer acquisition?
More than that, again, the talking to students is what made us believe this. Talking to more and more students, right? I mean, again, I'll give one example. So, say for example, Sundar Pichai is an Indian, right? So he's from Tamil Nadu. So if I go to Tamil Nadu student and say that if you study well, you can become Sundar Pichai, it's unrelatable to him. He can't even relate with that guy because Sundar Pichai has gone to IIT Kharagpur and post that I think he has gone to GSB or Stanford or Wharton somewhere, right?
He's been to Kharagpur,
Kharagpur post that he has gone to Wharton or somewhere in US as well, right? So now, as a student from tier 3, tier 4, definitely can't correlate to him. But I can correlate to someone who is similar to me with similar background, similar stuff, similar problems having, similar, academic, not a prodigy, academic background, like similar grades, etc. Right. If that guy is able to do that, then this platform is going to be helpful to me. Right. So this is going to be common for every startup. So if we can talk in the language of what their, our customer base is, and if they can correlate that if that guy got benefited, then I can definitely get benefited through this.
Right. So when you decided to acquire customers, how did you scale up the model? And what's the kind of future? Because you have acquired a certain set of students who you promise, you give the courses, you also offer employment. What's the next step in this? What's the scaling up going to happen? And in what phases?
So, I mean, there are like few sectors in India which I believe are like really fortunate, like edtech, health tech, fitness tech. These are the domains that I feel. Say for example, how many in this room knows Healthify Me, Cult Fitness, or these kind of startups? Healthify Me, I mean, we keep seeing the ads, right? So, I mean, these are the domains where you deliver the outcome, you need not do any marketing. I want to do show off. If I'm a student, if I got the job, I want to go to everyone in this room and tell that I got a job, right? I mean, I don't want to sit silent, because when I didn't have a job, everyone in this room got to me and poked me that, don't you have job, don't you go have job, right? Now, it's my, right, or my, whatever. I want to go to every single person in this room and say that though they don't ask me that, I got a job, right? Tomorrow I'm going to host a party, why don't you come there, right? So now the obvious next question from everyone in this room is, how have you gotten the job? The answer is going to be Nxtwave. Similarly, just imagine a Healthify Me, a guy with obese, like having 120 kgs of weight, is coming down to, say for example, 90 kgs of weight in, say, 9 months.
Okay.
So everyone is going to ask, or that guy is going to go and, I mean.
But how is Nxtwave implementing this idea? Like you are...
I mean, we need not implement, right? I mean,
you are going to
so, I mean, there are two parts. So a student, if you deliver the outcome, the student is not going to sit silent. And the parents are not going to sit silent in the first place. So, say for example, my dad, who is in the age of 50 or 55, if I got a job and not having job for last 2-3 years, if I got a job now, my dad would be more than happy to put it in spam all family groups saying that, Anupam has gotten a job now. Just imagine tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 guy who face that kind of pressure from society, relatives and everyone.
But Anupam, would this be a challenge to tell your students to pitch in your company name when they advertise?
That's the derivative of loyalty, right? I mean,
okay, now the important question is, how do you build this kind of a loyalty with the students? Because obviously they're not sitting in front of you. Yours is essentially an online classes mainly. So they're not sitting in front of you. How do you build this kind of loyalty so that these students can go back home and say that I learned it from Nxtwave?
Again, whatever I'm going to say, I think it's applicable for across industries, not just for Nxtwave or edtech as such, right? So, see, any user or customer coming to you means they must have tried or burned their hands with at least 3 or other 4 similar players, or someone who's providing similar value proposition. They have done their college, probably they must have tried something else. They have tried campus placements or offline interest, etc., etc. So now they have seen darkness to appreciate the light. That's a simple thing. So in order to build the loyalty, what we felt was just give the right value proposition to the user, because if a user is coming to you, which means they have spent like 3-4 other places. Again, going back to the same previous example, Healthify Me. Before I take up the Healthify Me subscription, I must have definitely met, or I must have tried to hit the gym prior, or I must have tried to wake up myself every day morning 5:30 a.m. or 6 a.m. and jog, lift weights, etc., whatnot, right? I must have tried 3 or 4 things which couldn't give me results, and now I am looking at Healthify Me. The reason why I'm referring to Healthify Me is because we continuously draw inspiration from, not from edtech, we draw inspiration from fitness tech and health tech.
But Anupam, there's this interesting aspect in this format in which you're approaching. One is the customer loyalty part, but also you need trained people who, when they're facing students, your customers, they're trained to say things and trained to deliver your message. So what's the kind of training you inculcate in the people who are facing the students, or the customer client facing executives?
Again, one thing we understood is, no matter how much you say in phone call, it's the trust that's going to win the customer. So now again, trust. Say for example, a student is coming to you saying that, sir, I'm a mechanical student, graduate in 2019 with 3 years of or 4 years of career gap, and I didn't have any prior experience. Would I get a job? You have to say nothing. Just provide 20-30 video testimonials of students who have gotten, similar, from similar background have gotten a job, that is enough, right? I mean, okay, so there is Anupam, who is mechanical graduate, 2019, 4 years gap, he got a job. There is Sunil, mechanical, 2018, who has 5 years of career gap, has gotten a job. There is someone else who has 6 years of career gap, gotten a job. So now, okay, so there are 20 people or 30 people like me, exactly like same academic track record, same, tier of college, exactly same, all the variables are same. Now, if they have gotten a job, then there is something that, I can also get a job. So that's what is going to play a key role. And I feel no matter how much pushy or, how much attempt that we make, it's impossible to gain the trust of the customer unless we feel, yes, I mean, there can be some results, but one thing we understood in working in, India, I mean, the reason why I'm talking India is prior to starting up Nxtwave, I was majorly part of, US and Middle East markets. So one thing we understood in India is, it is highly trust game. No, whatever industry you are, you need to gain trust of customer in order to, turn them as your paid customers. In order to gain the trust, probably, brand ambassador, etc., can help to a certain level. Okay. But your existing customers who got benefited from you are your walking, talking brand ambassadors. Okay. Nothing can beat that.
Yeah, Anupam, as an entrepreneur, what will be advice to youngsters? You started your company in 2020, and okay, what will be your advice to youngsters sitting out there who would want to start their own company? What kind of path they have to start on? What kind of mentors they have to approach? What kind of funding they use? So what has been your journey and what kind of advice? So these are the two parts we'll probably try to conclude.
So I'll try to keep it, probably it may go a little philosophical as well. I'm just giving heads up, right? So probably, my generation of entrepreneurs, I'm talking about majorly, my generation and current generation of entrepreneurs, somewhere to us, everything has been commoditized or readily available. Like what I mean by commoditized, you have a really good idea and you have really good, oratory skills and, analytical skills, you can get funding. That's not a really difficult thing today because, there are like bunch of,
so good presentation skills is something.
I mean, good storytelling skills. I mean, there are a bunch of HNIs out there in India and, capital is commoditized. And hiring people to a certain extent that is commoditized. Everything is commoditized. So everything is so easily approachable these days that, you can start your own company just like, how you go to Domino's and say that, I want, veg loaded pizza. As simple as that these days. By simple I mean doing the base work, right? But to have sustainable and, which we can, to drive towards the right path, one thing that I feel is somewhere because of all this have become so accessible, thought process has become so much, narrowed down that we are picking only low-hanging fruits. By I mean low-hanging fruits. If I want to drive customer acquisition, let me go onto Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Let me do digital marketing. I'll get some leads that will give me the, customers. So Anupam can do that. Sunil can do that. Everyone in this room, sitting in this room, can do that. Or they can hire people or agency and can do that. But what different am I doing so that this is the secret recipe of Nxtwave or Anupam's? So that this is going to, help me get customers at, a different level. So something which is not obvious, which is not low-hanging fruit, should be identified in every aspect. That could be it product, be it your customer acquisition style, be it your hiring. So I'll come to an example where during our hiring time, we started in 2020 October, we went to hire, into the market to build our team. So 2021 around July, August times. So if you guys remember, 2021 was period where, you wake up, you hear to a story of new unicorn, right? I mean, there was one day where at 8 a.m. there was 91st unicorn, at 12 noon there is 92nd unicorn, 6 p.m. there is 93rd unicorn, 9 p.m. there is 94th unicorn, right? I mean, in single day there are 4 unicorns. So for the people who are new to this term unicorn is the term given to a company whose value is $1 billion, in Indian rupees close to, as on today, 8,500 crores. So in a day, by the time you sleep and wake up, there is a new unicorn coming, which means the fund is coming in, just like the dam opened its gates.
So how can a person sitting in a tier 2 city who has a brilliant idea, how can you approach investors? What kind of skills he needs to have in his final years, for example? Or also the question of feedback. Everybody has an idea, but how do you ensure that the idea you have has the right feedback so that you solidify the idea and you make it more concrete and you're more confident of the idea. So what's the internal mechanism or external mechanism for this?
Like, there are two parts. One, validating the idea. Second part is approaching the investors, right? So validating the idea, I feel, no day idea is going to be perfect. So again, product market fit and all these things are like, it's a journey rather than like Rahul was mentioning prior here of Unschool. So it's a journey rather than, a single destination, right? So at certain point, you continuously keep iterating, you understand that, okay, so this is my value prop is going to be helpful to customers. So now customer is paying me for this value prop, right? So that's probably first part. Second part, the next panel discussion, which is about investment and other things, they can also answer it much better. So see, investors also wants to invest, right? The capital which is sitting in their bank account, they don't want to keep it at the fixed deposit of 5%, 6% returns, which is giving.
But
right?
how does it come to the person who has this brilliant idea?
Yes, so even investors are in search of really good people where they can put their money in, right? So, when we start our fundraising journey, one thing we were surprised is, we didn't know that people would reply to your cold mail. We were surprised to know that. We started our journey there, right? So every investor wants to invest, given the confidence.
How many cold mails did you?
So almost 100% hit rate it was. Like almost every cold mail we've sent, there was a response from the big shots we hear in the industry of investors to the angels, etc. Everyone.
That's a heartening.
Right. Coming to the same topic again. So investors want to invest their capital because they don't want to get just that 5-6% returns from FD or whatever they're getting from the bank by putting it in the bank account, right? So they want to invest in startups so that they can get multiplied returns. So now there is a lot of clutter out there, right? There are like probably 1,000 mails that an investor is going to receive, etc. So now how we can keep it there are two simple ways I feel. One, having a referral. So, say for example, I know 10 investors. If someone is approaching me and if I'm really convinced, I would put a word to, investor A, B, C saying that, hey dude, like, I know this guy who has built really fabulous startup. I think it's worth, your attention. So that's one thing. Second thing, if you're going to do, cold email or you're going to have it networking events or etc., it's important to have 2-3 metrics or 2-3 lines which definitely grabs their attention, saying that, these are the 3 things that we achieved so far, and these 3 things is what we are looking next. So if these 2 things can grab their attention, because I believe investors would receive at least, 10 to 50 to 100 to 500 emails in a given day. But how, quickly we can grab their attention and, make them feel that this is worth my time, right? So again, investors would evaluate probably 100 startups and invest in one, but how we can filter into that 100 is the next big thing.
Time seems to be running out as usual. So any final thoughts on wisdom you want to share with people here, budding entrepreneurs?
So, one thing that really helped us...
and we all should take note of what Anupam is saying because he's rarely seen and heard. So let's hang on to his...
So, see, one thing that we understood after starting Nxtwave is it's important to, think beyond what's so obvious in every decision that we want to make. Right? As said, if you want to do customization, there might be 2-3 quick ideas that you get, let me go and advertise on Google, let me go and put up a hoarding near, whatever near the highway or etc. or whatever it is. Hit pause, think again, think about alternate ways with which you can do so that can act as your secretary. Whatever, think just beyond obvious, right? When we sit for, our own internal ideation session, our brainstorming for everyone, first 1 minute ideas that we get are which are so obvious to everyone, right? That's the common thing which all of us get. Hit pause, just take little more time, think about, what something that's not so obvious that I can do so that can help as my, competitive, you call it competitive advantage, call it secret recipe, call it moat, whatever, right? So that is something that is, which helped us to pick something that is not so obvious, not so low hanging, pick something that is eventually go and act as your competitive advantage. That's what, the biggest thing that I can share to anyone.
Thank you, Anupam. On behalf of everyone, thank you. Think
My
beyond
pleasure.
obvious
My
is
pleasure.
something I will definitely have.
Thank you very much, sir. Now we'll have a few questions from the audience. Please, our team will pass on the mic to you. Any questions, anybody?
Hi Anupam. I would like to know the first initial journey because it's an online journey, right, that you started with. How did you meet the first customers and then crack that 0 to 1?
So it was during COVID, so no chance to meet them in person. So lockdowns, etc. were there, right? So see, one thing we've done was like even before the product started shipping out, we started building WhatsApp communities. So believe me or not, at certain point, we were having 2 lakh people in our WhatsApp groups in 3,000 spread across 3,000 WhatsApp groups. So we were just building on community by sharing simple. I think everyone in this room knows news in shorts, right? In shorts where we just swipe to read the news.
Yeah.
So such small nuggets of tech stuff we were providing to every student. So students were like, chalo, let me get added to the WhatsApp. This is what's wrong. They are providing something insightful every day. I mean, if you guys know FinShots, similar to FinShots, right? So that way we had like large pool of community back then. So then we started shipping out our product slowly. Then few people join, few people don't join any day. So for us, even today, one thing that we really give lot of importance is any given day out of 100 people who are approaching you, there will be people who are not opting for your product will be far more than the number of people opting for your product. That's the nature's law, right? I mean, the majority will be the number of people who are not opting for your product. It's important to learn from each and every one of them why they are not opting for your product. And again, if you just ask this question outrightly, they won't answer, right?
Correct.
So we used to do anonymous user calls saying that I want to keep it off record, but fine. So we call the users and talk as if I am also a student who is willing to join Nxtwave. What is his recommendation or his or her recommendation, whether they would allow me to join Nxtwave or not. So they would say, bro, it's fine to join Nxtwave, but there are these 2-3 concerns that I have. That's why I didn't join, right? So had I called him like Nxtwave's representative, probably they wouldn't have told me this, right? So try to get as much candid feedback as possible. And sometimes here we'll get into bias where we don't want to hear some stuff which we are not really happy or comfortable with. But let's be brutal and honest, harsh against ourselves to take the feedback. So nudge them, poke them, and take anonymous feedback as much as possible, so that which helps you to give right things. What is making user to not opt for your product, right? And this is going to be eternal forever.
Okay, thank you. Got it. And one other question followed with that. Basically, we are looking at a larger vision. Okay, let's talk about the big problem that we want to solve. But today, that problem everyone knows, but no one want to act. Okay. Now, for us, taking that into the market is a big challenge, because it's a mission which everyone want to talk about or even think through, but no one want to act for. So, how do you think we should plan out such things?
See, by chance, do you know Skyroot, which is Hyderabad-based startup again, right? I mean, Skyroot, which is into space technology.
Aerospace technology, the first rocket launch.
Yeah, first private rocket launched apart from, so I think all of us since our childhood, we have aspirations of becoming astronaut or something like that, right? I mean, looking at the cool stuff that they wear and the rockets they travel, etc. So all of us had that cool thing. But I think they were in the same position that you were. I mean, there are tons of startups like this, right, which are in the same position that everyone feels that this is really good to have thing, but no one wants to take that bold step ahead, right? So I think it boils down to a couple of things. So one, how strong is our conviction in solving that problem which no one has solved for? How well we can, instill confidence in someone who is listening to me that, yes, there is a path to this, there is a distance. Say, for example, from here I want to go to Mumbai on road, right? So if I say that, I don't know how to go to Mumbai, no one will trust and join in my car. So I need to say that, from here to, I need to go till point A, point B, point C, from there I need to take this highway, then I need to, clear this toll gate, then I'll get into Bombay. So if I can tell them that, stepwise sequence, then they'll have the confidence to get onto my car if I have to go to Bombay, right? So similar thing is in my startup journey. Be it investor, be it team member, be it, anyone, you have a destination in your mind. So all it takes is how well we can instill confidence in them that, dude, this is the path, this is how I'm strongly confident about going, and why am I capable of doing this? Right. So if I want to have someone in my car, and if I tell them that this is the first time I'm driving my car, no one would come in, right? True. So I need to show them that, I have the, capability to drive the car for 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours, non-stop, if you have to go there. And my prior track record shows that, I can do this. Right. So two things. One, the destination is clear, the path is clear. And two, to drive that path, I am the capable person to drive that path. So these two things, if you can instill, even if it is like, untaken path or untaken roads, people will be really happy to explore that. That's what I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're trying the first path in these the two segments, right? The first segment, who is the captain and riding the ship, and then second is the path that you are choosing. I think we might need some discussion, further support and all of that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So I guess that wraps the session up. Thank you very much, sir. It was very great, and I could really relate to the KGP parts that you mentioned. That was really great. And now I would like to welcome.
Special shout out to yourself, Vedashree and team. So I know how difficult it is to manage academics as well as I don't think it's holiday time right now, right? I think Durga Puja vacation is over and you guys are back to college.
Ends today.
Yeah, ends today. So I know how difficult it is. By your faces, going by face, I guess you guys had night outs.
They look extremely hassle faces.
Yeah, hassle faces. So
still working hard.
Yeah, especially shout out to organizers as well.
Thank you. Now I would like to welcome Mr. Rupesh to present tokens of gratitude to Mr. Anupam and Mr. Sunil. A round of applause, everyone. Mr. Rupesh will be back on stage for the panel discussion. Please. Now moving on, at this exciting LSM event organized by IIT Kharagpur, we are thrilled to be a part of this fantastic gathering of innovative minds. We are proud to announce our co-title sponsorship by Udu. Identifying the unique challenges faced by startups, we have a golden opportunity for you. As a part of our entrepreneurial success, Udu is pleased to offer a 1-year free subscription to exclusive startups collaborating in this amazing event. We have Udu's representatives, Mr. Akash and Ms. Devangi with us to brief you all about Udu and its services. Please come onto the stage, ma'am.
Yeah, so good evening everyone. Myself Devangi from Odoo, India. Actually, Odoo is a business suite which is providing you a 360-degree solution to your business problems. Okay, so here in this room, we all have startups, right? And Odoo is actually a startup. We have started before 12 years ago from the Belgium, and now we have companies across the globe in more than 175 countries, and we are serving our software to more than 12 million users across the globe. So starting from if you need to manage your inquiries, your follow-ups, your activities, tasks, your manufacturing processes, your stock, everything which you need in your business. So everything we are providing in this Odoo software. You can just go on odoo.com and search everything which you need. And here, as a co-sponsor of this event, LSM, we are providing a
both in India and abroad have in mind. I think that is the first thing that they need to look at before they really look at in terms of whether bootstrapping or VCs, and so taking prominence on this side.
So professions. So as he said, it's not an easy answer of time, 2013-14, and key in that context. Actually, some businesses need a lot of capital, and some venture capital firms and multiple banks. We graduate bags a package of 1 crore per annum, right? So how many IITians and IIITians? Some discussion that needs to be had on this context, so that
it's a very important, very certainly depends on the industry where sessions where I used to go to prepare for my engineering early days. You need to understand that when a venture capitalist puts in money, it's general partners or everybody who's there has got his reputation to prove. At the end of the day, we want you to be successful. We want that money has to go in the right direction. Is it spent wisely? Is it going to give right kind of returns? Because so it might market, get new customers.
All these on the back end actually, and also
in terms of bootstrapping, what you have a business, which means each time you want to take up a new project, an invested startup, right? So the silver lining there is when you're not funded, it also pushes you to become profitable. Like Yashwant and from day zero, there was no other way around it. It was either taking money from friends and family, putting that, and that brings in pressure into how you. At times you're rejected by the investor, even the bottom line that I want to put going forward. And also one more thing I want to point out while we go further in this discussion, and I would invite my panel members to speak about this as well. It's very important for you to choose the right investor, right? So these are the kind of streams. Is it deep tech? Is it separate stage? It's natural for humans to hear. Then there's an angel investor sitting in Hyderabad who's saying, who you're taking money from, what are the kind of terms and conditions.
Throughout my life, I get a chance last to speak. These have had a hybrid strategy, right? I think they've been the moment you are ready to step on the flexibility, or rather the control that you would want to have in democratized. It's not a single man or a founding team show any seat, right? Yes, there are sometimes hospitality side. My second was more on the transition healthcare side, and both non-tech, though my life has mostly revolved. There is no need of too much of capital early on, and I think we should be too much visibility as well, right? So I wanted to build upon that in terms of how does the first set up a mathematical formula and then go back to the investors, sounding a bit more smarter, for the lack of a better word, that I have now understood the game, and I just want to multiply and know how to put use to that capital. And I think today's world, honestly, I don't think software anybody can even dream to have an IPO, and then building upon it has not been so difficult. So over the last 1.5 years anyways, the macro has pushed everyone to. I think that's where holding of 15% of that as well, or 20% of that as well, will give me a human to narrow down our own market. But I do agree that in today's time, capital has become a commodity. So one needs companies where, as a seed round, they have gone and said no to Sequoia and taken money with the founder, much before he started off his venture. So I think it's more about you finding the right investor.
We've heard sort of two aspects, right? One is, you lose the other side, especially for certain set of VCs can bring into place. So I just want you to remember and know the other side of this as well. One of the stuff that I think Anupam in the Fireside chat was talking about, or Sunil did mention in the question, is in terms of how do you get to know through the VCs and what's happening in a lot of co-founders with a lot of know-how in the industry, with a lot of data-backed research, which an individual will find it difficult to get it on its own. To work with is financial management. I think about the technology, but are not or through VC or through alternate funding mechanism, but from day one, my view.
Maybe 2010s also, there was hardly any Zada, Ambani's, etc. Nobody were VC funded, right? So the Godrej's or all the richest people in India actually. So none of them were venture capital funded. There are so many regulations and external things that are completely out of control of an entrepreneur that come into play, wherein a lot of luck also comes in, so for which determines your success or failure, apart from all the things being in. A lot of wealth has been created in the last. Thought it would never happen, and even if it happens, it may take 30. Value of unicorn. That is the beauty of this funding, because entrepreneurs are actually is the question, and today's youngsters are Zomato, etc. So I think people have stopped talking to people or in their early 20s. They are actually real world and things I wanted to point out.
So adding on to what the other gentleman, $30 million, $30 million, 5 or 6 family coming in together. And after that I went into my entrepreneurship journey. Because now I understand how financial really works. At close to 5.5 crores. Now, but what I learned over these 2 times of raising funds, and that too with a startup and for that kind of a business. Because it's not just money that you're getting. Can you get right mentorship? That really matters. Can they open a network so that that network really helps you to grow your business some or the other way? So that really becomes very important, and so on and so forth. I met him in 2015 in the US on one of the NASCOM forums. And therein he was telling me, Sriram, on and he helped me in the long term. If you're trying to do a tech product and you're absolutely working with someone or the investors 10 times that, hey, this idea really makes sense, and you lose a lot of time there. So you need to understand. Now also, if we take, there are, like we are saying that when scalability is into the picture or something else is into the picture, you really need to think. Now I'll take one example. Tech company, I want scale, they become $1 billion into a valuation and then they go and raise the fund. So you need to always ask yourself the right question, am I there so that I can say that, I have really covered the market in certain perspective. I don't get arm and so forth. and they raised money almost like, after for a valuation, after a valuation of 300 million. Kind of clarity of product you have. Do you really have early customers? Is it good for you to stay with those customers? Will this really help you in the long run? I think that, hey, when there is a bit of competition, like for example, Facebook was 10th product in social networking, 10th or 11th, and Orkut and others were yes choose. Entrepreneurship is not a easy task, and you have to always choose between devil and the deep sea. So that is what I would like to see on the spot.
I mean, taking the context, there's a lot of discussion around the valuation. It's like the cherry on the top that you want to touch, instead of getting arm twisted, right? So as early stage founders, when you're going for investment, there's a lot of hustle around what valuation should I raise at and things. But in my opinion, also open to the floor here, is the valuation at the early stage doesn't matter as much. As long as 10 to 50% in the company, you're there, you're calling the shots. To not really chase value. That instills more confidence in you as both the parties, right? As a person who's taking money and the person who's giving money, we both decided that this is the valuation that is right for the company at this moment, and take your company forward to the next stage. Because it is in the interest of the investor also for you to have a high valuation. That's the irony.
Also, it should be a debt capital also. Which would at least maybe, I don't know, 25-30% of IRR at least. No entrepreneur is ever going to make that you are taking in, and your business should be able to service that. So just to venture capitalist perspective, because they cannot, companies based off Hyderabad, real estate companies based off Hyderabad, nobody has ever funded them. They in fact fund, their family offices fund a lot of entrepreneurs. They're coming, consuming your product, making revenues. Parameter of an aspiration or a success to of an entrepreneur, and even the society is talking about it that way, then I feel a lot more requirement for us to sustain, because it is not, as long as you're creating a startup in the first place, right? So one obviously could be to change the world, while across the world, actually Indian founders own the least founders control in India's today's unicorns at the time of listing, I believe, or at the time of unicorn, I'm not sure. So you're talking about a 12.5% is the average founder in a unicorn stage, right? So if you're creating a unicorn, those things will happen. But if you're
to the original point, which couple of us have now made, is that let's say you're building a manufacturing company at the core of it, right? And you brought out that point, my previous co-panelist brought out this point that in 5 years, and you can imagine the growth and I justify that's question number one, which is kind of an ODM. And now he's raising, more than 300 crores from a private equity, right? Sectors and industries, there are angels, coming into the play, and the angels exercises boils down to understanding your sector, understanding the growth, appreciating, what kind of cost of capital I am taking, the risks us do that. If your sector and stage and your, the dynamics kind of fall in the VC landscape, I think you should switch. Potentially and ideally, a VC should bring to the introducing to some amount of playbooks. There is a lot of cross-pollination and so on and so forth. So if you can see that multiplication happening with that capital, right, then you should go for investment rather than just going out blindly, which is very, very high cost of capital.
Okay. So
I want to completely. What are the risks I'm taking?
So how would, what would that external capital, they would definitely look for how big is the market size of the problem that you're trying to solve. Is the team that solves that problem, has there been a natural company, unless you are WhatsApp, to build certain value and build a business? So I think team matters a lot. Third is, the competitive mode, which everyone talks about, that landscape, and how do you make yourself a holy grail to that market, right? And finally, it should be the flavor of the season in terms of the sector. There should be a certain amount of upstream capital that people will look for. If there are regulatory concerns, then you would say 80% of the time the decision is made in the first meeting, because they would pricings what has worked, not worked for the other players, and the customer validation. I think it, and that
you have there is no risk for you. It's absolutely zero risk game while you are as a student. And by the time you come to your third year final year, Nidhi Prayas, that category, you talk about applying for those grants, you learn the game. And that is where when you can go to an angel after that, or maybe by the end, you're absolutely in the game already. So don't lose the time that you are in. There is plenty of grants available. So don't use the time when you are in the college. You'll identify whether the startup is good or not. And in these kind of grants have taken up to 1 crore. So you don't lose anything when it is a grant. It's only 5% trying to discuss with you. In your 20s, early 20s, you should always go out into the front foot to go for a 6. You don't have an option to lose your.
Which we also get. But technical legal risk in India, you have none. As a VC also.
Both are good. I have given demo to TIA, but when it comes to funding, so they are asking revenue. I've been talking to so many incubation centers, okay? Startup India also. Startup India is saying, we have given 11,000 crores into different. When I approach them, they said that
you to fail and they'll be happy if you fail, not succeed. Incubators, I'm sure you have not gone to all.
It's good, okay, it's unique, and we have filed the patents also. So your concept is it?
They have to invest in a business.
Yeah, it's unique, and that you definitely will be success.
So what is bank asking for is Cricket Academy. Now, if they want to even select, have already gotten some kind of revenue. So anybody, you can't think revenue as the first thing.
No, even government.
Like say one statement that I believe, right? Result, the statement that they're making, is it a yes? Is it a
get the revenue? So after.
Right, so to get a seat in IIIT, how many? I was speaking to Vedashri, 12 lakh people wrote JE, and she scored 5,000 rank to get to IIT Kharagpur. So that is the level of competition that we are having in you. Doesn't mean your business is bad. But just because they are saying no, you should not go blind the possibility to do it. Like for example, you go to a bank, it as a reality that this is how it is. Your product is bad. It doesn't mean, I'm not talking about your product, but you should also see the merit. If at all there is a merit, use it as an opportunity to improvise your product.
For giving us different perspectives, looking at nurturing our startup, take the funding or not, confidence that the product or the business that we are building is in the right direction, and at some point we might or we will definitely.
You should be aiming for the term sheet, but what I meant by validation is the VCs who are speaking to you are speaking to multiple of your competitors, people in the past, futuristic companies that are going to come. It can be addressable market to the kind of validation enough for you that you're one of the few.
Thank you. I want to just introduce myself. I am the founder of the brand Event Needs. I am building a super app for event industry as such. It's a hybrid platform for B2C. And it's a one-stop platform where planning, hiring.
And just a minute, and the VCs, there goes your elevator pitch.
This.
The fact of the matter is, here is my third-party validation. Like you got a valid investor and so on and so forth, right? The chain continues. The second, ensure that you all, if your business is growing extremely healthy, at least I can talk about few investors including us, well, then so be it. But that mode of,
To decide as a founder to go the VC funding.
So for us, it's very important for that next round to be.
Unless you're able to generate profits and,
Thank you, sir.
I really appreciate it, ma'am. You've kept the.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Yeah, and if the panel.
Nagaraju, I'm experience in pharmaceutics, and I have a bit level that is a manufacturing. Also, I want to present here. But it is not the same case.
Especially if you look at, if it fails, it fails. It's a huge risk. So in general, one of my partners, so some deep biosciences bed, then there are a couple of others that I'm aware of. Of course, Sequoia's come fairly late, mid-genomics and so on and so forth. But, Hyderabad is like the land of healthcare, and he pitched to so many VCs, nobody cared to invest, and here he builds, his empire. Started looking at interesting areas on the strategic.
And we want to convert most of the tablets and injections. Go to bank. There are also for some of the major pharmaceutics, they are asking for the monthly revenues. Is it a fire?
It would not an annual revenues. question, one of the things, and I know of a lot of investments that these are far between, they're of course not. But you really need to have strong collaterals for banks to even consider that for a pure
Those are all specifically on a sector basis.
Similar area that you're talking about, thinking about a lot of very big retail. There's no instance has their own fund called IHF, which from it there is Bill Gates and Melinda Gates funds. They put in a lot of money into.
I guess that wraps up the session. She from CDFT and Miss Pravalika from Succeed Innovation for their tremendous support in making LSM Hyderabad very successful. And I would like to thank the audience for being here. I hope this event contributes to all of your entrepreneurial journeys and will be a memorable one to everybody present here. And so we have the room till 7 p.m. and I really request all the speakers to be present here for the networking session we have planned. We have set up snacks outside and maybe you can forge connections over a cup of tea. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here.